It is Friday, which means we start the show off one thing. I can't go from one to the. I finally figured this out after 10 years of doing the morning show, that you can't quite do a certain thing, and so you've decided to do it this way. It is Friday, so we go here to kick things off once again on SDH. No, not that one. That's not what we were doing. Oh, it's going to be that kind of a day. Okay. So that was kind of a tease to later. So at 10 o'clock, we're going to have our friends from Macclesfield, Rob Smethurst, the majority owner, is going to be joining us. We're going to go over everything that happened in the FA Cup. Let's see if we can trigger it now.
Come on, man. Go for it, dude.
It's Friday! Friday! Friday!
Okay, so it's going to be one of those days. All right, so here's the rundown. We are efforting our friends from Beyond Goals Mentoring. It depends on the airport. And Abby, who is there, might be able to see our guest that we are aiming for here in hour number one, because he's got to catch a flight to South Florida. He might be at that airport, Abby. He might not. He might be at another airport heading to Central Florida. We'll find out here in a bit. So hour number one, the contents we kind of know, but they're in somewhat of a flux when it comes to order. Efforting a guest for hour number one. And it depends on flights and airports and traffic and all that kind of stuff. Also, we've been telling you everything about the Oceania Pro League, the OFC Pro League. They're kicking off tonight. You can catch all the games this season on FIFA Plus. And the first match is tonight, East Coast time in the United States. We're going to catch up with some more of the coaches heading into this first weekend. It's been really cool to be able to let you know what's been going on with the launch and everything. And we're not done. We're going to be covering the league pretty much all the way from one end to the other, because there's only one time on the planet when you can do something for the first time ever. And this is important. And for those of you that get the morning espresso, by the way, I guess technically this is opening kickoff, brought to us by our friends at Morning Espresso and presented by our friends at Oglethorpe University, when Jason kind of gives you the rundown of everything going on in and around the sport. So the deal is this. You only get the one chance to make that first impression. You don't get that second chance. OFC Pro League kicking off tonight. We're going to hear from some coaches coming up in just a bit. In addition to all the other coverage that we've been giving so far, we're going to be giving you coverage of the league as it goes through with all the personalities and stories and so on. So OFC Pro League, a part of hour number one. Efforting a guest in an airport, hour number one. Also on the board and probably somewhat in hour number two, it's going to be looking at Chris Henderson's comments that he had from his opening season press conference up at the Children's Healthcare of Atlanta training ground, because there were a lot of topics that he was asked about that I thought it was important to get into to prepare us all for the 26th season. It's about integration of the homegrowns into the lineup, the integration of the twos, and Jose Silva with what Tata Martino is looking for when it comes to integration, leadership, shared ideas, thoughts, philosophy, all of that stuff. You've got new ideas for leaders and who those leaders could be, since Brad Gazan has now officially retired and Bart Sleesh is at Brody. So where could those voices come from? So a lot of those quotes from Chris Henderson we'll be analyzing here in the show as well. 10 o'clock, a really cool moment. That the first stuff that you heard this morning when I was trying to toss to our morning whistle, that's Macclesfield FC and their big win over Crystal Palace. We've got Crystal Palace breaking news we'll get to in a second. So Macclesfield FC is a Phoenix club, and what I mean by that is, some of you may remember Macclesfield Town. They went belly up, and so a Phoenix club, Macclesfield FC, came to be out of that. Rob Smethurst bought them in a moment that he doesn't remember. And now he has gotten to this point with Macclesfield FC, where you have one of the most seismic upsets in FA Cup history, 117 spaces separating them from Crystal Palace. They knock off the defending champs, and they are now into the next round. We'll take on Brentford coming up in about a month. So we're going to catch up with Rob, find out about the team, what it's like for him to be an owner, to have a moment like sixth division right now in the English pyramid. And so National League and all those things, we're going to be catching up with Rob and find out what's going on there with him as they walk forward here in this journey for them today. And I also apologize for the signal strength because the Wi-Fi decided not to behave this morning here in the house. And so this, of course, is our last day here, and they are the temperatures are like in the low 30s, high 20s, and the internet has decided that it wants to freeze, and the home Wi-Fi has decided it wants to freeze. So I'm going off of a hotspot at the moment. So we're seeing how long this will last. So we've already had chaos in trying to roll tape. We've already had chaos in trying to have a signal this morning. So hopefully we can have a signal behave for about 11:05, and then we can have a show this morning. So that's the rundown for today. OFC Pro League, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk Atlanta United. We're going to talk about Macclesfield FC at 10 o'clock. We're going to do all of these things here today and efforting guests and so on and so on. But we've got news out of Crystal Palace, and I'll go ahead and hit this, and we'll see if it behaves as we go here. So, behave. We hit play. And so that worked, at least temporarily. So this morning, it was announced at his press conference that Oliver Glasner is leaving Crystal Palace at the end of the year. Leave Palace to pursue other chances. What those are, we don't know. But job openings that will open at the end of this year in the Premier League, if that is the direction he's going. Idea. Also from Crystal Palace, in his press conference, confirms Mark Gahey will not play against Sunderland as he's moving to Manchester City. Quote, the deal's in the final stages. The result is Mark won't play for us tomorrow. So fix your fantasy teams accordingly, and we'll see what it looks like there. Crystal Palace, apparently, according to our buddy Ben Jacobs, has already started exploring Glasner replacements last season. So it's a busy day for Ben. Rayo Vallecano's Inigo Perez and Getafe's Pepe Bordala, two names that have been approached. Liam Rosenior was also on the list, obviously, but he has joined Chelsea, so that's kind of a little thing that is in the way. So Manchester City, once again, agreed in principle to sign Mark Gahey from Crystal. That $35 million number, Manchester City got the okay. They're pursuing that number, and that way they get Gahey in-house, and Crystal Palace can try and find a replacement at the back between now and the end of the window. We've seen what Lacroix can do, how they can all integrate together as a group. So what it looks like when it comes to all of this behavior, Crystal Palace, and what it looks like with Mark Gahey. Gahey going to Manchester City. Oliver Glasner, he is leaving, and he is going someplace that only he apparently knows. Just maybe some player than where he is at present. So we'll keep an eye out on all of that. So it's been a very, very busy day for all of them. And as we get ready for everything, obviously in hour number 2, we'll get you ready for the weekend, and we'll get you ready with juice boxes and all of that stuff as we go. So that we are. Morning, Abby. Morning, Dell. Indiana fans are heading to some game, according to Abby, and so she gets to see them at the airport this morning. So Dell is saying that the Battery signed Sean Suber from Pittsburgh, Defender of the Year and a finalist, first teamer from our friends at the USL. So we've got that this morning too. Like I said, I apologize for the signal strength because it was a day where the moodiness of the computers and the turning on and off of devices has decided to take over this morning here as we stare at the Gulf of Mexico for one final day. So I beg your forbearance in this situation, and we will continue to let it roll as we go. Okay, let me get into the OFC stuff. And I mean OFC, not UFC, where apparently Kate Scott is now the new voice or the new host for the UFC on the network that she already is in. We got games this weekend. First evers for the OFC. And it is an opportunity for the league to kick off. It's been great to catch up with a couple of different franchises. We're not cutting off our coverage at all. And it is a moment really where the game grows in a substantive step in Oceania. And it's a region that is really important when it comes to the grand scheme of things, and the fact that they now finally have a league that they can call their own is huge in this. And so you got all the teams, they're kicking off this weekend. And it is a moment for them that obviously you're going to have that it's going to be really important, obviously, for the region and all that kind of stuff. And so we've been catching up with teams. We caught up with Solomon Islands. We caught up with Auckland FC. We caught up with South Island United. And it's been, like I said, it's been fun to see how they're growing in this process. So they got all 8 coaches together, and they sat them down in a room. And folks got to ask questions of all 8 coaches, and you end up with the press conference material that we're going to give you, at least in bits and pieces, here in a second. So we've mentioned South Island United. First time ever that the South Island of New Zealand gets to have a professional club, and of course their first time out, they get to play Auckland FC in the North Island. So the North-South derby is massively important, and it takes that added meaning that we have here for this match day number 1. And so here is part of the conversation that they got to have with Rob Sherman from South Island United, the head coach, and we've got to hear about him and his time there at South Island. So here were the conversations that were asked of Rob Sherman when it comes to this matchup that he gets out of the blocks, a derby, the North-South derby, as they call it, once again, courtesy of our friends at the OFC.
I think it's a major step for the whole region, ultimately. If you look at, say, world football recruitment, this particular region is under-recruited. There's a huge amount of potential, and so this league is the real opportunity to get players into top football.
And just in terms of your team, how have you gone about assembling your squad, and how happy are you with what you've been able to pull together?
Well, we just recruited, tried to recruit predominantly South Island and New Zealand based, which we've done. I'm really happy with the boys.
And so that is the early sound from Rob Sherman.
Quite nicely. So, this year is a foundation year, and hopefully by the end of the year we're in a good position
with
and
South Island
in a stronger position from a club perspective.
There you go. That's the quotes from Rob Sherman as he's getting ready for his matchup here on the weekend. So that is run head coach of South Island United, and that's only a part of the process here. Then you catch up with another one of the head coaches, and it is Sinisa Kahadzic from South Melbourne FC. And Kahadzic, let me see if I can spell Sinisa Mohadzic. Sinisa, how do we spell Mohadzic? Hang on, because I know how to say it. Sinisa Kahadzic. Okay, so Sinisa Kahadzic, South Melbourne, and I'm doing font as we go here, South Melbourne head coach. And so conversation continues with Sinisa Kahadzic about South Melbourne and their run and them getting ready for what's going on in the OFC Pro, getting ready for their first time out. So here the Q&A, here's a bit of that with Sinisa Kahadzic as he gets ready for match week 1.
Yeah, for us it's always been, we've been part of Oceania before in the history of our club. But at the same time, we're always wanting to make that next step as a club, and we find this competition not just valuable for us, but even valuable to integrate with and obviously be together with the Oceania teams and get better. Not just us as a club, but to help each other to get better and learn from each other. But at the same time, it's a competition where we take it very seriously, where we always come to win competition. So our preparation's been in that way, where we're taking this very seriously. Obviously, it's a bit of unknown for us, other teams in the competition, which something we will find out after the first day. But we as a club we're very ambitious, and that's the way we prepared to come in this competition.
Can you just explain a bit how the club will juggle this competition and the Vic NPL?
Yeah, we obviously have a big squad of 32 players. So obviously, we only can have 23 in here, but then we have 9 players that are under the age of 23 in our NPL roster, which we're going to integrate and give opportunities to many young players, which this is what it's about. The young players that we have, they have a big opportunity to showcase themselves on big stage. And for us, it's at the same time to see from these other clubs here, is there any players that we can bring along and maybe bring them to us and get them in our competition to playing too.
Sinisa Kahadzic, head coach of South Melbourne, as they get ready. And there are some really cool storylines that are attached to the teams that we haven't had the opportunity to let you know about here. And obviously, it is South Melbourne is the club of the 20th century in Oceania. They make their return to Pro League, and this comes off of the back of the Australia Championship title in December, and they've kept that core group from Kahadzic there in the soundbite. Tahiti is in this. They're going to South Melbourne out of the blocks, and they are in their first ever match. Samuel Garcia is going to keep his role once again as head coach of the Tahitian national team as a part of it. And by Teo Nui Tehau, the nation's all-time leading goal scorer and appearance holder, and Garcia is going to be playing PNG Hikari and Solomon Kings in Auckland. Vanuatu about them. They're going to have their head coach and their general manager for this first match. And so Lars Hopp asked about things, and so Hopp was asked to be there for the first match, as was the general manager, and so that will be the first match for them. PNG Hikari, Papua New Guinea, is with this as well. Brazilian coach Marcos Guzmão is going to be the head coach for PNG Hikari, and he admits that their preparation has been very intense. They're going to face South Melbourne in round number 1, and they are obviously really excited for the competition. So you get Papua New Guinea. Fiji's first professional club, Bula FC, and this is a story that we're going to pursue with the league. They're going to take place in the first match ever. This is the match tonight. Tonight, East Coast time, is this matchup with Vanuatu and Bula. Stefan Ovre is also the head coach of the national team, and so he's going to be head coach of Bula FC as well. Fiji's all-time top goal scorer and appearance holder, Roy Krishna, is a part of the squad. He gets to come back to the Pro League, and this is something that I think no one else can touch. The uniforms, the kits and the jersey for Bula FC, he designed them. It's his uniform. It's his soccer company that is responsible for the design and the implementation of the jerseys kits. So in addition to what he did on the field, Roy Krishna is now designer for Bula FC and their gear. So if there's a way that we can catch up with Roy Krishna and find out about how it's been like in this second life of his and being able to design something for his country, for his team, that's something else that we're going to be chasing as we go. So the first ever match tonight, Bula FC, Vanuatu United, and it's going to be on FIFA Plus. All the matches are going to be on FIFA Plus, and they're doing a system that is it basically is a hub system. So they're going to play a lot of matches in a 10-day. Usually it's like 3 matches, a 10-day period, then they go to the next hub. 3 matches in a 10-day period, next hub. You're going to get your opening weekend to tonight and tomorrow, our time, East Coast time. Then they really go truly hub, and it's the 3 matches in 10 days, and then they move out, 3 matches, 10 days, next hub, so on and so forth. So that's kind of what you're staring at when it comes to how they're going to play all of these matches. It isn't just, 45-minute drive here, 45-minute drive here. The only way they do that really is from hotel to practice facility to hub. It's like 4 and 5 hour flights. With an 8-team league, 4 and 5 hour flights going from one place to the other. And so it's a little different. And so that's why they went hub in this first season. And it's going to be interesting to see how everything evolves when it comes to the OFC Pro League as we go here this morning and this whole season. But obviously, today is a big day for them, and it's a big day for the region. It's a big day for the sport, and a morning local. And so we're going to be obviously keeping an eye on it all. and it's going to be intriguing to see how it evolves. Whose clubs are instantly out of the blocks that are ready to go, and I imagine that would be Auckland and South Melbourne and stuff like that. The teams that have had to assemble over the last 3 months, I imagine it might take them a little bit of time to get acclimated. And so we'll find out what it looks like here. But obviously, right now, this weekend, it starts tonight. OFC Pro League. We're going to give you highlights, and we're going to give you sound, and we're going to give you features. Remember, Ronan Wynn is now in the league, so we'll be catching up with Ronan. There are some other really cool stories when it comes to players who are representing their home nations for the first time, like Niue. That's another nation that is trying to assemble its own national team, and they have players finally representing their home country in this league. So we're chasing after those stories too. And then you have a player who designs the kit, and it's his company that gets to print all the stuff out, and they get to wear it too. So there's a bunch of different stories that are going to be going on simultaneously with the OFC Pro League, and obviously we're going to be keeping up with all of that stuff as we go. A couple of updates on things that we've been discussing this morning and other things we've been discussing. Doug Robertson of the AJC saying Atlanta United is going to play 8 matches on grass and Mercedes-Benz before the World Cup. The turf is going to be approved starting January 31st. And we knew that it was going to be in February when it was going to be grass, but we didn't know it was going to be turf removed and grass put in. So grass is Atlanta United at home, playing on the grass before the World Cup just to get the building acclimated to it. More stuff from Ben Jacobs this morning when it comes to the Oliver Glasner situation. Apparently, he told Steve Parrish he was leaving summer back in October. Quote, a decision's already been taken. I had a meeting with Steve in October during the international break. I will not sign a new contract. It was best to keep it between us. Best that we could do that and keep it confidential for 3 months, but now it's important to have clarity. We've had a very busy schedule, so that's when to talk about it until now. Steve and I want the best for Crystal Palace. Oliver Glasner is out at the end of the year. Glasner going forward. And once again, I'm going to apologize off the top. The Wi-Fi with all the windy conditions and the cold is forcing me to go off a hotspot this morning. So that's why it looks a little jumbled. That's why it looks a little weird. That's why it looks a little max headroomy when it comes to anything and everything this morning. So I'm going to apologize off the top for all of this stuff that we have here this morning. Once again, efforting a guest at an airport for our 9:30 slot. We'll see if he can make it. And then at 10 o'clock, it's Rob Smethurst from Macclesfield, and it is an opportunity to catch up with them and find out what's going on after the big win that they had. So it'll be really interesting to find out what's up with Rob Smethurst and Macclesfield in the 6th tier as they get ready for – they had a match, I think, on Tuesday, and it was an opportunity for them to kind of get back to in the 6th tier. So we'll see what happens there, and it'll be a fun conversation to have. And so it will be really interesting when it comes to the latest is with Macclesfield as we go. And so I guess technically all of that, once again, opening kickoff was by our friends at Morning Espresso. And we'll find out what's going on with Morning Espresso and the Oglethorpe University. All right, 9:30. Wow. Okay. So this guy said, he shot me an email, and he said that he will effort 9:30. I told him he could come in earlier if he needed to because of airports and things like that. And I know he's on a clock, so let me go ahead and bring him in. And it is our buddy Greg. So where are you, sir?
I'm currently at my boys' house, and then I have to pick them up early from school and then head straight to the airport. So, yeah. My
Okay,
middle son had an award ceremony this morning, so I'm just getting in.
No worries.
Yeah.
It's all good.
Happy New Year, man. It's been a minute.
Happy New Year. It has, and that's why I wanted to have you in this morning to kind of break down 2025 from your perspective. We had Parky in last week, and I wanted to ask you what you specifically learned with your time with Beyond Goals in 2025.
Man, that's a great question.
I'm like dropping a bomb early on, yeah.
I specifically learned that I think our message and our niche of what we have is extremely useful for youth sports these days. I think as we continue to build our reputation within the United States and having I don't say more clients, but just more players that we work with, you really start to understand the importance of the mental side and aspect of what the game can bring. And I think coming from a holistical standpoint and kind of point of view, has really allowed us to just gain some beautiful and amazing relationships with people from all over, not only within the United States, but all over the world. And we continue to try and do the best that we can with what we have. And I'm very grateful. I was just at the Rookie Symposium last week. I had to do a couple of panels with all of the rookies who got drafted. Only 20% of them will sign first team contracts, which is, there's 90 players. So you'll have 18 players that will truly make it. Other than that, you have another 60% that will be in MLS Next Pro. So they'll be on, non-guaranteed contracts. And then you have another 20%, another 18 kids that will not sign anything and hopefully be able to go to USL Championship or League One. But our theme this year, and I think something that I've learned over the last couple months, and I use it a lot within my mentorship, but our theme this year to eradicate discrimination is based off gratitude. So I think from 2025, I will use that word as that's something that we talked a lot about over the last bit of the year, was just the word gratitude and how to always have it serve as an awareness mindset instead of it being a feeling or an emotion. Have it be a mindset of how you carry yourself each and every day. So I think that is my biggest thing that I've learned over the last year. It came with a lot of different challenges with Beyond Goals, but in terms of scalability and everything else, but just grateful for what we do.
How grateful are folks these days? And I mean by that, gratitude can come in a bunch of different forms. It can come in the way of gratitude for your place, gratitude for family, gratitude for those folks that are closest to you, gratitude for what you're able to accomplish and those that have helped you along the way. How grateful are folks these days that you come across about their lot in life?
Yeah, I think sometimes just teaching them what gratitude can be. And I think sometimes helping kids understand what gratitude is, because I think most of us these days, and I'd say most people, we base our happiness off of instant gratification. So it's, these kids these days, it's the same thing. It's instant gratification of getting a like on social media or whatever it may be, or having a certain amount of followers or whatever it is. But sometimes I think life is so much more than just those instant gratification moments, and helping them understand that what do you have around you at all times and what's there to support you? How can you take the good out of the bad? How can you always look at the bright side? And I think that's an important piece. That's an ultimate goal. It's a very hard thing, especially for us. Whenever they first gave us this project and this theme to eradicate discrimination within our league and using gratitude, my first thought was obviously a negative. We have used, our themes of respect or competitive stress or understanding moments on how to get rid of racism and sexism and Semitism and all the isms, but gratitude, I was like, what the hell? How are we going to make somebody, understand how to not be a racist by helping them understand how thankful and grateful they are? And so that was a huge hurdle for even me to understand, to kind of help others see things differently. You can't save the world, but I think in terms of getting people on the right page and on the same page in terms of respect, it all comes down to that. So it's been an interesting few months for me, traveling a lot, doing a lot of speaking engagements, and just kind of learning from others, listening with open ears and open eyes, and just continuously building not, I think, only our reputation and staying relevant within the game today, but just continuously learning from greats that have lived some pretty cool lives.
How hard is it to listen these days? Because I would imagine at some points that even as adults, we kind of listen through folks at times instead of through folks, and that then what they're trying to put upon us, even in a casual conversation. If somebody starts to, and if you're thinking in yourself, you're having lunch with somebody, you're having to sit down, and in your mind it's like, man, I got to think about this, I got to think about, and that other person at the other end of the table is talking, and you're just kind of listening through them, and they're trying to tell you something important. There's a difference, I think, at times that folks don't necessarily understand about listening through someone, listening to someone, and do we get in that sometimes where you're just kind of thinking about other things more than you should instead of being present with that person with you?
Oh, I get caught doing that all the time because I have 1,000 different things going through my mind at all times. But I think listening is an important skill and trait that we all need, especially as a former player. You usually have people who tell you an exercise and they'll only tell you once. They won't give you the direction again. And if you can't figure it out, well, then guess what? You're probably going back to the locker room with some coaches if you did not listen. So I think in that sense, I think listening is key and vital and essential. But I think that's the beauty of kind of what Parky and I do, is that we get on with these calls with kids, and you are able to really notice which kid wants to take all the information in and which kid is going to most likely apply all the lessons that are learned or all the experiences that we have gone through, and they are able to implement those things in their everyday lives. But you also get the kids. Parky and I were just having this conversation yesterday. A mentee that I have had in the past and a mentee that he currently works with right now that is just so hard to get through because he's not paying attention or he's on his phone half the time during a session. So, it's one of those things to where it can only be up to that person who wants to continuously grow and in the right direction. We've had a few of those before that we've worked with to where these kids have an enormous and such huge amount of potential within what they can do with the beautiful game. But if they don't have that quality, if they don't have those character traits, then it's going to get them nowhere, just talent. So, sometimes those kids might have to learn the hard way, but we can say we are more than thankful that I'd say probably about 99% of the kids that we work with are very good listeners and really take everything that we say to heart.
And today, these days, you mentioned trying to focus on the bright side of things with all of those external pressures that we talk about, social media that we might look at too much, the person off to our shoulder that might sit there and go for the dig instead of going for the compliment, which really to go for a compliment is easier and makes more of a lasting impact than going for the dig. But some folks sit there and they want to do the dig just because they want to get that leg up on the person that they feel threatened by. How difficult is it for mentees these days? Because I know it's difficult for adults these days to look at the bright side of things and understand that it's all a part of what's going on day to day. How hard is it to be optimistic when it seems like it's really easy not to be?
Yeah, I think that's going back to the gratitude mindset. I think that's what's, what I've learned over the past few months, and it's something I've always implemented and practiced for myself. But, gratitude can increase so many different benefits within anyone's life. It can help them look at the bright side, have a more positive attitude towards things, less stress and anxiety. It can encourage cooperation. It can build long-term success. There are a list of 30 different things that gratitude can do, but you can only achieve that by practicing it. And I think that's a huge piece of it. It's all of us. Once again, all of us want this instant gratification of I'm doing something right now. I need to be master at it today. And I think even gratitude takes practice. It takes time. It takes the more understanding you have towards it, then the more optimistic you can be about everything that's going on. And that there's challenges that we all face each and every day. And I think even going back to the rookie symposium, it was helping these young kids understand that their journey is just beginning. they've been student athletes their whole entire life, and they've managed things differently. But the reality of it is that they're now stepping into a different business. They're stepping into a business to where I don't care if you're a student athlete. I don't care, what's going on sometimes in your life, as long as my life is okay and I'm taking care of my family, because it's a different world out there in a professional environment than it is in a collegiate. And I'd say it's much more, the relationship sometimes can be transactional, because you're fighting for one simple objective. But at the end of the day, I look back at my career, I talk to Parky every single day, and I'm sure Parky can say the same, but we don't talk to many more teammates that we have or have had within our careers. And that's sometimes how it goes. But at the end of the day, you see them, you give them a huge hug, you're brothers for life. But sometimes I think people underestimate the relationships that are made within the beautiful game, because yes, there are some beautiful friendships that are made, but it's a different life. And I think sometimes helping those kids understand the life that they're stepping into, it's not an easy one. But how they can still use gratitude within being the 90 draftees of being selected, and still, how many kids would die to be in their shoes.
Okay, let me ask you this: how long do I have you this morning?
I have a 10 o'clock cutoff.
Okay, so that's okay. So I just wanted to make sure I didn't.
Our normal time. Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure that I didn't need to sit there and it's like, yeah, I got to make my flight. So I just wanted to make sure that our normal time is normal time. Okay. Rookie Symposium. I wanted to that. And you mentioned the idea of, there's only X number of folks that are going to be making it to Major League Soccer. You have all the other different levels, and you also wanted to eradicate discrimination. And it's something that sadly we see too much of these days, whether it's ultras who are yelling at the players for the club that they claim that they are supporters of. They're yelling at the opposition, thinking that they're supporting, that they're the fans that they're supporters of. It happens in locker rooms, sadly. How prevalent is discrimination from the feedback that you get, whether it's at the sim or just in your everyday? How big a thing is this to tackle these days?
It is. It's something you can't hide from, right? It's not something that I don't think is going to go away. In all honesty, it's not anything that we can just snap our fingers and just not deal with anymore. It's something that is going to continue to happen for, I think, generations to come. You can't hide away from it. You can't shy away from it. But I do think you can learn things from it. And I think that you can try and put everyone on the same path to where there is a term of respect. There is a term of seeing equally. And I think there's no better way than using sport to do so, because especially with soccer, you are dealing with so many different cultures and beliefs and religions and ways of being, ways of raising, and the way people have been taught within their youth. But there is no better way to try and help people see eye to eye and have a certain objective to make this world a better place. And I think athletes, and I think people who do have a platform of kind of where I think more people listen to them rather than to others. And I think that's a big piece of what we just talked about, is that you have this role modelship and ability to spread a great message to others. And I think that's a huge piece of what we do in eradicating discrimination within the league. Is, yes, in my case, it is only to help player on player. It is not to get rid of the ultras or the other fan bases that are dealing with things. For us, it is player on player, because there's been too many of them. So it is to help them navigate their new settings, their new environments, but also come from a level of respect and finding a way to meet in the middle and kind of helping them through that. And with that, then again, it just becomes their their responsibility and their accountability to not only represent the league, represent their country or whatever they represent their team, represent their family, the name on the back of their jersey, and everything that they are in terms of that reputation, but also using that platform to do good. And I think a lot of athletes these days do not understand that. In any sport that they play, they feel that they are entitled sometimes to do whatever the heck it is that they want, say whatever they want, do whatever they want, and it won't have any repercussions. And I think, with being an athlete, you hold a certain sense of responsibility and a standard and expectation from those around you. So why not do good within your community, and why not do good with those around you? Because there are people who do look up to you a lot of the time.
Is there more today than when you were a player and when you started? Is this something that really does need to be tamped out at a greater rate than it had been in the past?
Yeah, I think this is why we have created this initiative. In 2023, I believe there were actually, no, in 2022 and 2023, I want to say there were over 25 reports of player-on-player discrimination. And I think that's uncalled for. I dealt with something in Cincinnati that was uncalled for in 2020, right before COVID year, where our head coach got fired because of something that was discriminatory. So I think having me on board and being able to share certain experiences and things that I've gone through as a player that has been detrimental to an organization and also to your team and to others, and separates locker rooms. There's a lot of things that I think can happen. And so sharing the message and trying to do good. Within 2024, we only had 2 reported incidents. In 2025, we had another 2 reported incidents. So, I mean, going from, over 20 to 2 and 2 within 2 years, I think, what we're doing has been very influential for the players and to hold them responsible. And I think it means that much more having somebody who's been in their shoes and somebody who sees the bros in the locker room from way back when, rather than having somebody that's from legal team and walking in with a suit and telling players what you can and cannot do. So I do think there has been an enormous push towards doing good within the league, but I think it's not the only league that needs to have it. I think every league needs to have something to where it's a player's responsibility. At the end of the day, it's a player's responsibility to push for saying no to racism. Yes. Saying no to sexism, saying no to all these different things, whether it be religion. But we can't just wear these, these captain armbands that say no to racism, or these captain armbands that are for Pride Month. I think that we have to do more, and I think we have to speak more and kind of come together as players, because you are a union. You are people who have this power. Because without you, the league doesn't stand a chance. So, I think that's a big piece of it, that I think the league has done a great job in trying to help players use their platform for that good.
From your experience, is it more something that is a learned trait from inside the locker room and interactions, or is it I don't want to use the word hereditary, but a trait from outside the game that you bring in with you that you notice, or is it something that is found inside the game that is kept as a trait? Do you have any ideas to which direction it comes from, or is it a mix of both, do you think?
You mean discrimination?
Yeah. When you come across these kinds of discussions and players that have these thoughts and they'll think something inappropriate, is it a learned behavior, or is it something that's brought in?
I think it is a subconscious. It is a subconscious thought, right? We've all been there, we've all, I mean, I can recall we had these conversations as a group when we started playing as one, that I could recall in middle school. We would call each other a certain word, and that word is completely forbidden today. Right.
Yeah.
And so there's certain things that I think, you grow up with, or you don't realize the magnitude of what you're saying and how it can affect someone else. So I think being a part of something to where I think we had a lot of psychiatrists and psychologists on board when we first started this initiative, and one of the things that I learned is that you can't teach something to someone when they are already set in their ways. It's impossible. When somebody is set in their ways, you can't teach them anything, but you can help them navigate on how to find a way to kind of not necessarily be different, but sometimes just be more understanding. And I think that's a huge piece of it, is you're helping players be more understanding with that awareness mindset of everything around them. And I think that's a huge piece of what we do. There are going to be players in this league that have maybe been brought up or have maybe learned certain things that along the way, or the last year we focused on something called competitive stress, right? To where you want to win so badly, you'll say anything to mess with the other person, even if you don't mean it, right? So there's certain things that I think that can really bring out sometimes the worst of us. And that happens. Sometimes we're provoked enough to where, we say something we completely regret. And I think, within the league over the years, it's maybe before it was much more of a cancel culture. And I think now, the league has really implemented a process to where it's a very much restorative process and bringing back players in and helping players understand the magnitude of what they say and how they say it, how they act, and the platform that they have, like I said, to be those role models. And it's a pretty cool initiative to be a part of, because I think it exemplifies maybe like what myself and Parky try and teach kids, is that it is what makes you successful in your career is not the game. It is the elite personality that you have. And, I think that just is something I am very proud of, that the league gives me that platform to serve as a spokesperson and to serve as an example, to help teams and players understand how to act and how to be each and every day. So I think that just goes back to my whole entire career of one of the panels that I did before the Rookie Symposium was with every single community and player engagement staff of every single team, and how important it is to connect with the players to get them involved in the community and the platform that they have, and being involved in the foundations and organizations that they have, whether it be from Special Olympics, whether it be from the humane societies, and every opportunity that they have to just be involved with their community. And that was an awesome moment for me as well, and getting to share the stage with some of the staff from Atlanta United, and then explaining how to build those relationships and how to bridge that gap between player engagement and community engagement staff with players. So there was a lot of good that was done last week. I'm so thankful that the league does those things. The Rookie Symposium, I think, who knows how long it's going to last with, how this league is continuously evolving. But I do think it is a massive asset to just help these young players come into the league and come to an understanding that the responsibilities that they have, but also the beauty of what it is to be a professional athlete. So I'm very thankful to be a part of that.
Yeah, and you've opened a large door for future conversations with us when you come by and visit on Fridays. So let me wrap up last thing, because I know you've got a jet, both figuratively and literally. 2026 with Beyond Goals. What are you and Parky what's on the wish list for Beyond Goals in 2026?
Yeah, I think, as always, John, is for us, I have no complaints with or any certain different goals than what we have had and set from the very beginning of our creation. And I think it is continuously growing the game the best way possible that we can, and the right way possible, and helping young athletes come to an understanding and a realization that the game that they play is much more than just kicking a ball out on a field or saving a shot. There are values that are to be taught. There are values to be learned, and lessons that they can use and experiences and events that they can use for the rest of their lives. So, I think it is continuously doing the great work that Mike and I, and now Zara are continuously doing, and growing a platform that is very holistic and experience based and just big brother, big sister relationship based. Because it takes a village for people to be successful in life. It can't just take one person, and it needs to take multiple people within their lives guiding them the right way. So we are a part of that village. We continue to build those pillars and being that village. So yeah, same goals as last year for me, to continuously grow and hit more heads in terms of growing what we do with Beyond Goals.
And we love it that you and Parky get to come and hang out with us and share these ideas and come out with a larger audience and are as welcoming as you are with us, so we can have the breaking of the bread and all these comments and stuff that is a great education for me and for everybody here at SDH. Thank you again, my friend, for doing this. Get out of here, go to the airport, have a fantastic tournament, have a great weekend, stay warm, be safe, all the things. We'll catch up with you soon. Thanks for dropping by on your way to the airport. Be safe, my friend.
Thanks, John. Appreciate it. Happy New Year to everyone. And yeah, be safe. Take care, bud.
All right, there we go. Greg Garza. And that's Greg's first appearance in 2026. It's always great to see Greg. And so, yeah, Greg is on his way to a tournament. And it's a big deal for the Garza family. And so we can't thank Greg and Parky enough for everything that they are able to impart here on Fridays when they get to come visit. Their lives are going 9,000 miles an hour. And the fact that they get to, that they take the time to stop here and visit with us to discuss these topics, it is in a way, if I could get my upper plate to work, it is in a way our own mentoring sessions. And it's reminders of things that we get to see on a daily basis. And when we get to bounce the questions in you get the down that is from them as they are growing beyond goals. So it's really important that we get to have these shared experiences. Like I said, it's great for me. I get to learn, and being the naturally inquisitive sort, you get to kind of find out what's going on a daily basis, and you get to learn. And that's the biggest thing, is learning as we all go forward. And so to be able to have Greg, to have Parky, I'd love to, and this is probably a conversation for the two of them, with the NWSL season coming up, I'd like to see if we could have Zara on to discuss what she's learning as a mentor now at Beyond Goals. And so at BG Mentoring on the Twitters, at MF Parkhurst on the Twitters, at BeyondGoalsMentoring.com on the World Wide Webs, and we get to have those kinds of experiences with them as we go on a weekly basis when they get to come in and drop by. So it's always really cool to have them come up and visit. It's been right now we're going to catch up with Chris Henderson and his thoughts when he had his press conference earlier this week at the Children's Healthcare of Atlanta Training Ground. We are efforting Jason to come on in the final half hour just for a little bit. There is a large press conference and a learning opportunity for the assembled media when it comes to Atlanta and their World Cup preparations coming up, because we are under 150 days before the World Cup starts here in the U.S. And so it was a chance for the hires up at Mercedes-Benz, for Dan Corso, to have a press conference to give a bit of a status report and how Mercedes-Benz is going to look, how it's going to change, what it's going to be for Atlanta United when the turf is removed and the grass is put in, and all of those things. And so if Jason is in a space where he can come and join us bottom of the hour-ish, then we can catch up with him and find out what the latest is with Mercedes-Benz Stadium and what it looks like as it gets prepared for the World Cup and the world as it comes in 2020. So, okay, this is cool, and there's no other way to describe it. So this is really cool that we get to do this, and I'm gonna play a piece of tape first, and then that will start our session off here in hour number 2, and we'll see if our upcoming guest remembers this moment. At least he better.
And they've done it! You just witnessed something truly special, utterly magnificent! This is one of the greatest ever upsets in the long, long history of this incredible competition. Macclesfield, of the 6th tier of English football, have dumped out Premier League Crystal Palace, the holders of the FA Cup.
And then the crowd continued to cheer for quite some time, as they well should have. And we bring in Rob Smethurst. Nicely done, sir. Well done. Nicely done.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, wow. What can you say?
I couldn't resist that piece of tape, honestly, because those of us here on this side of the Atlantic, when that moment happened, we're seeing those of us that got up early, we're watching what's going on. And then you start to get the alerts on social media and all this kind of stuff. Hey, Macclesfield, they're leading. Crystal Palace is in trouble. And there's a cutaway of Steve Parrish, and he's got the stone face. As it gets later and later, Steve Parrish probably didn't change today, knowing that Oliver Glasner is out at the end of the year by his own hand. But, you get those moments, and Steve's response doesn't change, and you get that moment there for you there at Macclesfield. Has it really sunk in, the gravity of what you were able to accomplish as a club?
I don't think it ever will. I think we've created absolute history. We've come from against all odds. We're a very small football club in terms of the Premier League. We've got players here that, still have jobs. They're plumbers, they're bricklayers, and suddenly, they have gone out there against Premier League giants, with Crystal Palace, in the Premier League with nearly 500 million pound budgets, players on the pitch at, huge amounts of value. And us as a little underdog story have gone out there and made football history by, beating them in, if not one of the biggest upsets in FA Cup football history. And, to be a part of that, and, for the community and the fans and, all the people that have supported this football club, through thick and thin, really, have had one of the biggest moments in upsets in history. So, yeah, it's just been, we're all still absolutely buzzing. We're the team and the staff, we're all so excited.
For those that may not know the backstory, and I am away from my studio space. I'm away from my office. You get to see what it's like when I take that week of vacation a year. I have a Macclesfield Town scarf in my office from the time when it was troubled and they were trying to raise funds and that kind of a thing. And so I dove in and tried to help out in a small way. I've got a Macclesfield Town scarf in the office. The club went away. This, what you refer to with Macclesfield FC, is as a Phoenix club, and this is something that you've taken over. And for those that may not know the story, it's had a bit of an interesting twist to it. We can get into that if you want, just briefly. But what's it been like for you to take over and understand what it means to the community there, to this club, and get it to this point to where you're in the 6th tier and you get to have this kind of a thing that you can hang on?
Yeah, I mean, if we sort of just go back a little bit, so this Macclesfield had a great football club in Macclesfield Town, and unfortunately, it went under. It went into receivership. It wasn't making enough money, and it was a League Two football club, and the whole club went under. The heartbeat of Macclesfield, the community was upset. We were, there was people, grown men crying on the streets, and it was one of those moments where I just sold my business, and I probably at the time wasn't in a great place. I was struggling with addiction, and I had no purpose in life. And when this football club came up, I just thought, I wonder if I could make a difference to the local community. And I had no football experience. I've had no knowledge of how to run a football club. And I bought it, and I thought, I'm going to give it my best shot. And we all got together. We created Macclesfield FC. And we started on this journey. And the first year, we were trying to find players. It was a pay-as-you-play model. We're in the lowest level of football in as far as the pyramid system. And we won that league, which was incredible. We then start the new season on a high, and guess what? We won that one too, which was incredible. And that was the moment when we thought, wow, we were getting nearly 3,000 to 4,000 people coming through the gates, on a cold, wet Tuesday night here in England. And then, believe it or not, we went again and we did it. We won it the third time. So, we've moved up the pyramid system like a dream. It's been unbelievable. We've got a massive academy here with 600 kids that play every day. I've got a big foundation where I pay for kids that can't afford to play football. There's about 400 kids there that we buy boots for, and I support and try and help to obviously play the game. And then we also got a school here in the day as well, which we open the doors and we've got teachers here that can teach. So we've got kids on that as well. And and then the most exciting thing is we got our next promotion. So now we are in what's called the Conference League, the North Conference League, and we are it's absolutely unbelievable. And then the story even gets better. We start on the FA Cup run and we get through rounds, and and then suddenly we pull the Crystal Palace, the huge Premier League football club that arrives here at Macclesfield. And we're just a small town club, and with huge belief in what we can do. And it's the real David and Goliath story. And yeah, it was some serious day when we managed to win them.
And I mean, it is one of those stories that on multiple levels I think folks can relate to. Your story that's attached to it, where you were coming from in your life, and I think that you have something like this, and it's something that you can hang on to on a daily basis, and it gives back to the community more than tenfold. But that's just the number that pops into folks' heads. What has it been like for you in your life to pick up the club at that point in your life and to be able to invest, have the town give back, have the fans give back, you get to invest more, they give back just as much, and it continues, that cycle continues to grow and grow and grow. What has it been like for you? Do you get the chance to step back and go, we really have been doing something special here in a very, very short period of time, and just where everyone has pitched in and gotten themselves involved in all of this? Have you had a chance to sit there and understand what you've been able to do?
Do you know what? I haven't really. I think I'm quite grounded, and I'm a big believer in helping others, and I've not really stopped. It's a case of keep on pushing and trying to achieve. It's when I look back at my life, I never really felt as if I did achieve, if that makes sense. I felt like I was never good enough, and that maybe comes back from growing up at school where you're told you're a failure. I had ADHD, I was dyslexic, and I really struggled. And I've always got that determination that I want to better myself. And, no matter how tough my life's been, to be able to give back to others and see this community being lifted and putting a heartbeat back into a town is really my biggest accomplishment. And, to see those kids that play out there week in, week out, trying to be footballers, and the whole excitement of that, is what it's all about. And the power of football or soccer, is something super special here in the UK. And to get that opportunity to, on a Saturday when you see those fans coming through the door, and their excitement, and they're with friends and they're with family, and they're with grandparents, and the grandchildren are here, and that's what a real community is about. And I think that's the most sort of feel good factor for me, that we've created something so special.
And it was a stand-up move by Terrace and Crystal Palace. They basically said, "Nah, you can hang on to receipts. It's all you." When you get to see when that something like that happens, that Steve Parrish gets it. He knows what the lower divisions mean to each and every one of their communities. When he told you that, when Crystal Palace said, "Nah, hang on to it, we're cool," What did that mean to you and to the club?
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, these clubs cost an awful lot of money to run. They're very expensive. Sometimes obviously we're always trying to cover the costs, so we're always looking for support and people to help us along that journey. And when he did that, those things are really special. They are the biggest in the Premier League. The money that they've got, to help out, a club like us that is on that journey, trying to move up the leagues. You can't thank them enough. And when we won the game as well, their fans were incredible. A standing ovation, clapping, even though they must have been so hurt inside for seeing a massive Premier League performance like that. They really showed what a real community club they are. And that was a touching moment for me. That was a touch of class from Crystal Palace.
When here in the United States, we have our cup competitions as well, and we have the all-in tournaments where the amateur clubs, the clubs that are just, it's like, hey, can you come and hang out and be a part of a starting 11 on a Saturday? We have that element, our open cups as well. For someone who doesn't necessarily understand what the FA Cup means to English football and to the entire scope of it all, how would you describe it?
I think it's one of the most biggest tournaments, in the country. It's been going for such a long time. It gives the smaller clubs a dream, a potential, dream of a David Goliath story. Though it even very, very rarely happens. It's a huge tournament where the smaller clubs get the opportunity to play against the big ones if they are lucky enough. The way it works over here is you have to get through so many rounds. I think we had to get through around 6 rounds before we even allowed to enter, the league system of bigger players, the bigger clubs. So we've been working hard all through the season, already to get to the level, and then it's only now that the last in round 3, where the Premier League clubs come in. So to draw them was incredible. And then obviously to win was just incredible. And then to top it all off, we're still going. We've now got.
Oh, I think somebody probably tried to call
another massive game against Brentford, which is unheard of, to have 2 Premier League clubs coming over and playing. So if we win that, which would be a dream, wow, there will be no words. There will be, I'm sure there'll be lots of partying.
I no doubt about it. Rob Smethurst hanging out with us here from Macclesfield FC.
Have I froze?
No, you're good. No, you're good. You are all good. Yeah, you're good. You're good. You are okay. You're good to go. You didn't.
I think I may have gone.
Nope, you didn't. You're good. You're right there. I know that we were having to deal with connections and everything, but no, you are good to go. And you checked out. Okay, so my guess is somebody tried to call Rob. So we'll find out here what's going on, and when you have cold fingers and 0 degrees outside.
I'm back. Can you hear me?
Yep, you're good. No, I don't. You're good. You're good to
I
go.
apologize. Yeah, I think someone rang me as I'm on the phone, and it's just literally kicked us off. So
yes, yeah, that happens every once in a while. No worries on our end. Have you had conversations after the win over Crystal Palace, and then you get the draw, and then you're ready for Brentford? Have other owners in the National League, have they rung you up? Have they asked for feedback? Do you guys have regular conversations about day-to-day operations? What the conversations been like with you and the other owners there in the league after the win?
I think it's a huge advocate for our level. We don't really don't really have those relationships. We're all in competition, so we kind of, I'm not saying it's a love-hate relationship, but we all get on behind the scenes and we're all one. But it is a very competitive pyramid system, and if we can have advantages over other clubs and vice versa, we're all trying to recruit the best players we possibly can. There are clubs that are trying to poach our players, and we like players that we've seen at other clubs. And sometimes as an owner, it's not great when you're doing so well, and a bigger club comes in for one of your players, at more money, and you can't keep them. So you tend to be kind of a closed network, really, and I think we're all pushing the right direction. We all want the best for all the clubs, of course we do, and there's huge respect there. We were kind of like a very big fish, in a small pond as we were moving up the leagues. But we've got to a stage now where we're starting to see the quality shine from other clubs, and very much a level playing field as far as budgets. So you have huge respect for them. But yeah, a lot of them have all kindly sent some really nice messages.
And you are that effect. You are in a true fight right now. You do have two or three matches in hand, depending on who we're talking about in the standings. But in the lower divisions, and legitimately, it starts probably just as soon as you hit the championship. But from there down, it is a pierce brawl. It is taking swings, and you've got to come out hot, and you've got to stay hot the entire time. Right now, the way things are, with matches in hand, you're 3 points out of the promotion playoff spots, because there have been folks like South Shields and Kidderminster Harriers. They've gotten that good start, and they're in there locked in. It is a true fight to get into that 7 spot. But the thing is, with all the matches in hand, you're only 3 points out of the promotion playoffs. I mean, this is something where and correct me if I'm wrong, it just feels like you've got to be at 100% energy, whether you're on the field, off the field. You've got to be gassed up the entire time. There's no rest for any of you, it seems.
That you're absolutely spot on. There isn't. We're driving, we're pushing. We've got to keep going. We've because of what we've had to go through with the FA Cup, and we're also in the FA Cup Vars as well. We're well behind the other clubs as far as the amount of games that we've played. So, we've got a massive backlog here of games now. So it'll be Tuesday, Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday games now. And it's going to be relentless for us. To the end of the season. And it's going to be tough. But the start of the season for us, was our first time in this league. So for us, it's really a learning. It's about me learning about the players. I wanted to give all the players the best opportunity to still play at these levels. When they moved up, because they did such a convincing win last season, that we had to give them an opportunity. And some of those have really shone. Some of those have come through, and others haven't. We've brought in a new head of recruitment now to start to strengthen, to look at higher levels, higher leagues, to see if we can start getting players of the ability for this one. So for us, this is a kind of a year for me to sit back, develop, better ourselves, steady the books, and then kind of just then look at, like, what do we need at this level. So sometimes, trying to win too quick, believe it or not, and move up too quickly, if we're not ready for it, then we can position where we could be financially out of control, or we've bought wrong players, we've rushed the decisions. So this is kind of a free hit for us this year. It's kind of, let's learn, let's sit back, let's experience what we've got to go through, and then we can recruit well in the summer. It's a much more physical league that we're in this season. The players are taller, bigger, stronger. They work on a lot of set pieces, and big long throw-ins, and we've always been very fast, dynamic, quick, playing through the thirds as quick as possible, attacking fast football. And sometimes, we're getting knocked off the ball, and we're struggling. And then other opponents, we're running rings around. And, it also comes down to fitness as well. We've got a lot of full-time teams in our league as well. We are part-time, but I think next year we're going to have to make that move to become more full-time, and start with a full-time team that trains every single day, because we're seeing fitter, stronger players, and we've got to adapt and be better at that.
Has there been one thing that you have learned about yourself that you didn't realize as a part of this picking up the franchise and owning Macclesfield to this particular season? I'm not necessarily including what happening at Crystal Palace, but what have you learned about yourself as an individual and as an owner in this whole process since you took over?
I think, I probably came in here just the typical kind of, nice guy, respectful, and I still am that. But what I have had to realize is that it is a tough sport. It's ruthless. You're dealing with agents. You're dealing with people's emotions. You've got to be, if you haven't got a player that's good enough, you can't keep them. It doesn't matter whether he's your best friend or not. It becomes a very ruthless environment to become the best by, buying in the right players. Recruitment's been huge, and I think that's been a big thing for me is kind of having that more ruthless side a little bit towards how I have to operate, which was never me. That was never me as a person or a makeup. But when it comes to winning and determination, you have to find that sort of resilience as well. And I think, what I've also learned as well is social media as well, the power of, how people aren't nice on social media, and, when everything's going great and I'm doing fantastic as a club owner, you're the best thing in the world. When things start to lose and you start losing games and matches, people can very easily switch and turn and make really nasty comments. And I think that's the hard thing, where you have to strengthen yourself up, become more resilient, more ruthless, maybe not worry so much about what people think as well. You've got a direction that you've got to focus on, that you believe in, and as long as I believe in myself to be able to be the best that I can, then I will keep pushing.
Okay, so you've got a match tomorrow, yes?
We got a match Saturday. Yeah, we're playing Oxford here. So we've got the lads have been preparing all week. Obviously, it's our first game back into the league. Again, this is what we pay the players for. This is about the serious stuff. This is the push for promotion now. So the lads are back to it. They're focused. It took me 5 days to find them, by the way. After we won Crystal Palace. I still think I've lost my striker. Think I don't know where he is, but I think we've finally got him back to the football club. So it's been so much fun.
Absolutely. And thanks for letting us knock on your door to kind of let everybody see what the ride has been like. It looks like it's is there an official date for Valentine's weekend when you play? Is there an official date yet?
We think it was going to be the 16th. We haven't got full confirmation, but we believe it will be 16th. It'll be on TNT. I'm sure hopefully you guys can watch it there. And also on YouTube, we've got 2 documentaries as well with the me buying the football club. It's called Robbie Savage Making Macclesfield. That'd be great if you get behind us and wish this little small town the best of luck against the big giants.
And we like to do that every single time we see it. We cannot thank you enough for the middle of the afternoon, the day before a match day, to come and hang out with us for 20 minutes to kind of let everybody see what's on over there at Macclesfield. First off, it was great television. It was a great watch, and we know what it means to the club in each and every single way. I can't thank you enough for answering a DM on your Instagram account. So you could come and hang out with us. We'd like to knock on your door again if that's okay down the line, just to kind of get progress reports as we go. Is that cool?
That's absolutely cool. Love that. So yeah, anytime you want.
Thanks for dropping by. Get ready for match day. We'll be watching as you go, and we'll catch up with you soon, my friend. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Take care. Bye-bye.
All right. Wow, Rob's Thursday. He gets to hang out with us on a Friday, on match day. He's good to go. It's cool. There are times when we get to do stuff like that, and it reminds us that as far away as we may be, we're really not. And when you end up with those kinds of conversations, we get to see what's going on with the FA Cup. Very, very cool. So let me say hi to everybody here and break down what's going on this morning. Morning, David. Morning, Abby. Before she had to hit the airport, she was heading to South Florida. And let's see, saw some Indiana fans heading to the game at Hard Rock. Understandable. And they're probably paying $4,500 a ticket. Morning, Dell. Morning, Loke. Morning, Kevsey. And morning, Pars. So that is what we're staring at this morning when it comes to anything and everything going on in the Twitch pitch. All right, let's get you into juice boxes, at least overseas in British in football. So let's get you into the previews, because we were discussing in the in soccer over there that one of the matches this weekend could, in fact, be a double loser leave town match with what you're looking at with Spurs and with West Ham. You've got Spurs fans that are fed up with Thomas Frank. You've got West Ham fans who are fed up with everything, including Nuno. And so now what are we staring at with these matchups? All right, so let's take a peek at the Premier League and let you know what's going on. Later on, we'll do what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it. We are efforting Jason because of the press conference that happened this morning. It might still be going on, having to do with Atlanta United, with the Mercedes-Benz Stadium, Atlanta United, and the World Cup, and how it all integrates and what the building is going to be looking like, transitions from surfaces, all those kinds of things, what Atlanta United is going to have to be doing when it comes to changing surfaces. Are they going to be on grass? How long? How many matches? When does the transition happen? All those things. We're efforting Jason for when the press conference and when the press opportunity is done. Okay. Tomorrow, Premier League. We'll go over standings, too, as we get you into the weekend after the FA Cup break. Manchester Derby leads everything off at Old Trafford, and it is the beginning of the caretaker managerness for Manchester United. They are an underdog at a plus 262. Manchester City is a minus 110, draws a plus 283. Chelsea and Brentford at Stamford Bridge. This is part of the 10 o'clockers, 5 at 10 o'clock. Chelsea's a minus 141. Brentford a plus 357, draws a plus 300. Leeds, who is now in the Sam Surridge discussion, according to some reports, plus 114, hosting Fulham at a plus 243, and the draw is a plus 231. Liverpool hosting Burnley at a minus 435. Burnley to win at Anfield is a plus 1040, draws a plus 545. Sunderland and Palace. Sunderland is favored at a plus 156, draws a plus 212, and Crystal Palace is a plus 183 on the road. Spurs and West Ham. Spurs on the minus side at a minus 139, draws a plus 291. West Ham is a plus 350 near 12:30 on Saturday. Is Forest hosting Arsenal at City Ground. They are a plus 500. Arsenal is a minus 189, and the draw is a 321. On Sunday, you have two matches. 9 o'clock in the morning, it's Wolves and Newcastle. Wolves a plus 347, draws a plus 296, and this is in the composite from our friends at Odds Portal. And Newcastle is a minus 139. Villa is at 11:30 Eastern, a minus 52, hosting Everton, who's a plus 412, draws a plus 286. Monday Night Football, it is at the Amex, Brighton and Bournemouth. Brighton a minus 16, and the draws a plus 287. Bournemouth is a plus 275. So you now have that information heading into your Saturday. The standings, Arsenal points cleared. After 21 matches, Arsenal 6 points cleared. Manchester City has drawn their last 3. Opportunities there missed for Pep Guardiola. 49 points to 43. Villa is third, well behind on goal difference, identical record at 13-4-4. Liverpool, 35 points. So this is your chase group. Liverpool has drawn 3 in a row. They're at 35 points. Brentford has won 4 of 5. They are now at 33 points. They are in that 5th spot. And a lot of folks are saying that Steve Andrews is probably your coach of the year. I'm not going to disagree at present. Newcastle 6th. They've won 3 in a row. They're at 32 points ahead of Manchester United on goal difference, who have drawn their last 3. They're unbeaten in their last 4, but only 1 win. Chelsea is 8th at 31 points, well ahead of Fulham on goal difference, and Fulham is unbeaten in their last 5. Sunderland is at 30 points. They had drawn their last 4 going into the last week of competition 11 days ago in the midweek. It's a loss, so that 4-match unbeaten run ends. Sunderland, I think, is coming back to the mean a little, 30 points. Brighton is at 29 points ahead on goal difference, and Crystal Palace is at 28 points. 3 losses, 2 in their last 5 matches. So Palace is at 28. Spurs 27. They had a 3-match unbeaten run, snatched time out with a loss. They're at 27 points. They're in 14th. Bournemouth is at 26 points. They won last time out. They really needed that to separate from the drop zone. They're at 15th at 26 points. Now you've got Leeds and Forest. Leeds is 22 points. They lost last time out. They were unbeaten in their last 4. Daniel, a decent run of form going, and then they lose last time out. They are 16th, but they're also 8 points from safety. Forest had lost 4 in a row. They won last time out, and they are at 21 points. Your bottom 3 right now: West Ham at 14 points, 7 points from safety. They have lost 4 of 5. They've lost in a row. Burnley's at 13 points, 3, 4, and 14. They've scored 22 goals, same amount as West Ham, and they're better in goal difference by 2. Had a attached losing streak snapped with a draw last time out. And then Wolves at 1, 4, and 16. They're unbeaten in their last 3. They have 5 points in their last 3 matches to get them to 7 points. 21 matches played, and they have scored 15 goals in 21 matches, and they have given up 41. So it's almost 2 goals a match they've given up at 7 points. Wolves well adrift from safety at 14 points. And so that's where we are. Morning, Ricky. Ricky's heading to Gulf Shores for the end. We are looking at what's going on. Well, it looks like Jason will be joining us here shortly to break. That is attached to the media availability with assembly and Mercedes Stadium personnel and World Cup folks, City of Atlanta folks. So it will be interesting to see what happens with all of the activity that's attached to that. And so once again, we'll catch up with that coming up here in just a little bit. And so gossip, rumor, and innuendo, let's get into that and let you know what the latest word is when it comes to who's going where. And we'll find out what it looks like with who might be going where. Once again, remember, it looks like Mark on his to Manchester City as it was broken out this morning by Oliver Glasner in the bombshell press conference where he says he's out at the end of the year. He's going to Manchester City. So you're looking at that as 2 of the biggest pieces of news when it comes out of Crystal Palace. Manchester City, they have agreed on the deal. So we'll see what happens with that. It looks like Roma has signed Daniel Mallon from Aston Villa. And where's my gossip? So gossip. Here we go. You tab, then you get it. All right. We mentioned Tammy Abraham. That was a part, and that's been consistent. Villa wants to seal a permanent deal for Tammy Abraham, currently on loan at Besiktas from Roma. 18-19 season, he was on loan at Villa, helped him earn promotion. Manchester United growing confident they'll be able to sign Carlos Baleba from Brighton in the summer. That's from the 3-letter paper. Take the information at your own peril. Also, Juve made an inquiry about Jean-Philippe Mateta from Palace as they seek a long-term replacement for Dusan Vlahovic. That's from Sky. Inter, Napoli, and Fiorentina are all contenders to chase after Harry Maguire in January. That's from Mercato. Nottingham Forest's defender Murillo being considered by Manchester United as they're looking for a replacement for Harry Maguire. 4-letter paper, take the information on peril. Chelsea, they want to bring in a defender in the window. They're staring at Bournemouth's Marcus Senesi among several targets. United's Michael Carrick is keen to sign Hayden Hackney, the midfielder from Middlesbrough, who's also getting interest from Spurs. It is Valencia approaching Brentford on Frank Onyeka from Nigeria. West Ham is Cresswell from Toulouse. Forest is looking at David from Tutto Mercato from Inter Milan. Kobe Mainu could look to secure a loan exit. That's from the other 4-letter paper. Take the information at your own peril. We'll get back to all of that coming up in just a bit. Now, to let you know about what's going on, it was a very, very busy morning involving Mercedes-Benz Stadium, getting ready for World Cup 26. And so for this, we put out the bats to join us for a bit of the 411 this morning over at Mercedes-Benz Stadium, sir.
Well, it was a virtual media availability, John. We were not at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. There were media members from all over the world hearing what's going on here in Atlanta with the host committee. It's, I think, a smart way of handling these updates because they're going to be frequent, and there's a whole lot of people worldwide who are interested now that we know what countries are coming to Atlanta. A lot of conversation from Spain, from South Africa, from other countries, just trying to learn about what's going to happen here. You know, I mean, I think we take for granted sometimes, like, Atlanta has an amazing stadium, but not everybody knows it has a roof and has air conditioning. So, you know, just kind of reiterating some stuff like that maybe we know here locally, but maybe the rest of the world is learning. And also, I think just more than anything, the idea that this is different than it was about 6 months ago when there was a big media availability downtown. This is beyond like planning. This is executing. And this is now like what is happening. Atlanta's got a lot of experience with these kinds of events. So it was just an update on where things stand at this stage.
about infrastructure. It's about transportation, getting folk venue, the day-to-day operations, all the stuff going on around it. And there's going to be a different surface that's going to be in here. This is something that is truly three-dimensional. It is not something that is just like, okay, wind it up and just let the car go down the road.
Well, that's a World Cup. I mean, that's an Olympics. That's all of these different things that, you've covered them before. We've all experienced these where it's not just open the stadium and, Spain and Cabo Verde show up and it's a big game. This is a big deal, and it's different than what we've had before. And I think that's also, something that has to be understood here. This is not going to be from a surface perspective. Let's talk about the grass, because I think that's a huge talking point here with World Cup and Mercedes-Benz Stadium. This is not what has happened in previous friendlies. This is not Copa America 2024. This is not FIFA Club World Cup 2025. This is different. And you've learned from all of those experiences, but you're also taking into account what is unique about Mercedes-Benz Stadium. It has a roof, it has air conditioning, but it also doesn't have natural light. That's why it doesn't have a natural grass surface to begin with. So you're in two phases, essentially. You are going to, right now, remove the synthetic turf system in about 2 weeks, beginning January 31st. And you're going to convert to a natural grass playing surface for the World Cup, specifically for the World Cup. The way the venue is structured, the fact that the venue is used 300 days a year, you can't have grass in there on a regular basis. Is there a way in the future to have what you see like at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, like you see at the Santiago Bernabeu? That's a whole different conversation. But for this summer, you are going to remove the synthetic turf January 31st. You're going to install a natural grass field for the games in the spring for Atlanta United and for the U.S. men's national team friendlies. After those games, you're going to then remove that field and replace it with a brand new field exclusive for the World Cup. That ensures the best condition, period. And, like you said, this is not just showing up and rolling stuff out. You've done things already like ventilation, like drainage, like irrigation. You've already done some prep. You're working with FIFA. You're working with universities that have done these specialized grow labs to replicate conditions in each host venue that are all different. The indoor venues are all different. The indoor venues versus the outdoor venues are different. You're doing all of these different things to have two effects. Ideally, one, you want the field to be as good as it can possibly be for the players, and you want it to look as good as it possibly can for the players. I think you want it to play better, number one priority, and you want it to look good too. Those are two major elements that you've got to deal with. And, look, you learned during the FIFA Club World Cup. Over time, you're going to have issues with grass, like in an indoor venue and in an outdoor venue too, to be honest. Like from day one of the tournament to the last day of the tournament, you're going to have more issues later on. They did take away something from Club World Cup, that one grass variety showed more wear and tear later in the tournament. So they've refined that. They've structured that. They've changed it. It's going to be a better situation for this year. So, you want it to be stable. You want it to have moisture. You want the root health to be good. You want it to look elite, play elite, and be consistent across the tournament. That's your goal here.
And at the same time, when the stadium was constructed, one of the tent poles in it, one of the great things that was a great source of pride for Arthur M. Blank, AMBSE, for Mercedes-Benz Stadium, for everyone that's associated with it, was the LEED nature of it, the conservation element, the recycling element, to where it is sustainable and it continues to be that kind of a beacon for these kinds of stadia. And you've got to keep that in mind too, with all of this chaos going on of all of the different things that you're drifting in and out. You're pulling things out, you're putting things back in, you've got infrastructure, and you've still got to maintain that framework of being this beacon of sustainability at the same time with all of these moving parts that are there.
Yeah, I mean, it's a LEED Platinum certified building. You had the first zero waste college football playoff championship match game. You're targeting zero waste for the World Cup. These are all factors in it, energy efficiency. You're doing some different things with I think the Wi-Fi networks in there, the cellular networks in there. These are all elements that are very important to all of the stakeholders in the stadium and in the city and in the state. You're going to have the fan-friendly pricing. That is not going to go away for a World Cup on the concessions. That a lot of people expected it would. Every big event, people are like, "Oh, why is this still cheap?" Because that's what they do. That's how Atlanta is. That's how the stadium is. You're going to have local food partners in the facility as well. It's important. And I mean, it goes back to just the big picture of Atlanta being what Atlanta is. And those of us who live here understand that it's a special place. And, this is going to be, in my opinion, and I am totally biased, but it's going to be the premier spot for the World Cup in this country. And I think the backside of the World Cup coming out of it, I think all the international media and spectators that are going to come here, they are going to realize that this is the spot, not just for soccer in the United States, but for big events in the United States. And I think we saw elements of that after the Olympics, and it took a while. And I don't think the infrastructure was quite as developed by that point, and it helped develop it for what it is now. But you're going to see Atlanta become so much more of an international city coming out of the World Cup. And I think that's going to be the big talking point. I mean, there were people on the call who were here for Club World Cup and were like, the venue was amazing. And we heard that from coaches. We heard that from spectators. We heard that from media. This is the greatest stadium. This is amazing. Yeah, it is. We're really lucky. We're really lucky that we have this. And I think it's only going to get better through the World Cup.
How much in the conference was there in discussions, ancillary events outside the venue, what's going to be attaching itself to the World Cup experience in 26? How much of a conversation was that?
I mean, FanFest is the big one. It's going to be at Centennial Olympic Park. And I think what Atlanta has, another element that makes it unique, and I think will increase the reaction positively afterwards, is it's almost like a World Cup campus. I mean, you think about it. Again, we take this stuff for granted at times, but you think about other venues and what FanFest will be like compared to the stadium experience, compared to the transit experience, like all of those things. You've got Centennial Olympic Park, walkable to the stadium. You've got Centennial Yards, which is building out. It sounds like COSM is not going to be fully operational by the time the World Cup comes around, but it will be used during World Cup things. You'll have, same in Centennial Yards, I think you're going to have a lot of venues that are built out. South Downtown, right next to it again, another area. We're going to be there a lot with the new Brewhouse Cafe location in South Downtown. We're going to visit our friends Kevin Egan and crew with their Irish pub that's opening in Centennial Yards. Both are going to be open ahead of World Cup. But the FanFest being at Centennial Olympic Park, you've got World of Coke, College Football Hall of Fame, Georgia Aquarium, all right there. You've got MARTA stations, all right there. You've got so much right there that is huge. And think about FanFest, and I think this is the biggest key. When you think about your World Cup day, and I know every game, the kickoff times are different and you're going to have different experiences, but you're going to have some early kicks. You're going to have some noon and some 3 kicks. All right, the noon kicks, maybe FanFest isn't the spot before the game, but it's going to be after the game. After the game, you want to hang out and soak up the experience. Cool, there's going to be a game starting at 3 o'clock. Go watch it at FanFest. Yeah, it's going to be hot, but it's also going to be free to attend. There will be VIP and premium upsell opportunities if you do want that. Which some people will, absolutely. But there's going to be other places around as well. You're going to have a lot of options. And I think that's what I keep coming back to, in that, other cities are going to have FanFests that are going to be far away from the stadium. Other cities are going to have FanFests where you're going to pay, and it might be cheap to get in, but it's an expense. I think here in Atlanta, you're going to have FanFest that is open on all the match days, plus additional days in between. you're going to have sponsor activations and things going on there that will have a feel for sure. Centennial Yards will have a feel for what a match day will feel like there. The center right there as well, the former CNN Center, that's going to be another area that will have a different feel. South Downtown with Brewhouse, with El Tesoro, with other locations, restaurants, bars, pubs, you're going to have a different feel. You're going to be able to kind of figure out what your vibe is. And that's what I love about what the World Cup experience is going to be here in Atlanta. If you're, not if you want the fan fest atmosphere, great. If you want a pub atmosphere, great. If you want a more high-end restaurant kind of atmosphere, you're going to have those options too. You're going to have all of those different options, and you're going to have the options, as we all know, yes, you can drive into downtown, and yes, you can park, and you're going to have to pay for that. And yes, you can deal with traffic getting back. And a lot of people, that's the experience you're going to have. That's cool. You can also do MARTA. And I think the other thing that jumped out to me was a lot of what MARTA is doing in the build up to this. Breeze cards were a great step forward for those of us who remember the paper tickets you had to buy and all of that. And that could be a pain. Breeze cards help, but you're also getting now to using mobile wallets and using apps and being able to do that. That's going to be a huge upgrade. I think a lot of people will be watching what's going on at 5 Point Station. That's not the only station for World Cup, but it is the central spot. So they are working on upgrades there that are going to go beyond the long-term redevelopment goes beyond 2026. It will be operationally ready for World Cup. That's what MARTA is working towards now. And you will have that station as an option. You'll have the new sports and entertainment area, that the former CNN Center station, the former Dome station. They removed all that because names have changed. That station will be good to go to get out, walk easy. Vine City, easy to walk across the spectator bridge. That's usually where I end up opting for. You're going to have a lot of options. You're going to have a lot of different options to get around and make it all work. I think, will it be crowded? Yeah. Will there be delays? Yeah. Welcome to major events. Like, you can't avoid that, but I think it's going to be as smooth as possible. And I'm pumped. I come away from the media availability today feeling pretty good about where Atlanta is with, look, obviously work to do. You can't be ready for a once in a lifetime kind of event overnight. I feel like the city's in a good spot for it, and I'm excited to see where it continues to get from today to June.
One of the things that we are doing is we're ducking in with each of the host cities that we can to sit there and try and do a compare contrast. And we've had conversations in the city, in Vancouver, and Toronto, and the public transportation infrastructure element of this, I think, is going to be key. And there are some cities where I'm concerned because it doesn't have the same kind of reach that it has in an Atlanta, where it basically is, you have that World Cup hub right there, and it's attached to everything, and it's easy act. The Meadowlands, for me, it sends up a big red flag because of where it is and access and how you're going to be getting there. We'll be catching up with them as we go. Houston and NRG, Dallas and Jerry World, because of where they're positioned outside of the downtown area. I'm intrigued as we continue to learn about all these things, where they compare with what Atlanta is, where Atlanta is going with theirs, and how their infrastructure will match up because of the concerns in all of these folks heading to these six-figure venues. I'm intrigued to see how everybody matches up with what we're seeing already with Atlanta.
Yeah, I mean, it's different. Every city, every stadium has its own unique challenges and opportunities. I mean, that's the thing is, there's going to be some stadiums that have maybe more of a tailgate culture, tailgate vibe to it. Okay, cool. Like that, that's great. Every city has a unique element that you can lean into, along with challenges that you have to try to overcome as best you can. But I think Atlanta, from a international visitor standpoint, from a domestic visitor standpoint, it's pretty easy to deal with. And I think what I want to see is yeah, the hotels in that downtown corridor are going to be expensive and they're going to sell out. We know that. If they're not sold out already, I'm not sure. How does it benefit the other hotels on MARTA, for example? Like for international visitors, okay, you don't want to pay the prices to be in the middle of downtown. You don't want to be in the middle of downtown. You want to be a little bit further away. You've got options. How does that benefit the other stations and the other hubs around stations? And that's something that MARTA has worked towards, creating more of hubs around stations. I think they'd love to be further along in some of that redevelopment, but there's still opportunity there. It's so much easier too than it used to be in terms of, I mean, I remember using MARTA and then having to use taxis. With Uber, with Lyft, you've got those possibilities now. And I want to see what that infrastructure network really looks like as you decide, okay, I'm going to stay in the Decatur area, but all right, I'm going to need to probably get a Uber from the Decatur station to a hotel that is close by. Are there going to be, is there going to be thought and structure placed in having cars available, having people ready to go, like kind of that sort of planning side of things? That'll be interesting because I think there's a huge opportunity. I think there's a huge opportunity on the south side. I think staying around the airport, that makes it very easy. There's going to be a lot of that. And I think here in Atlanta, you're going to have benefits that other cities won't, but you're going to have challenges that other cities don't have as well. And it's just what helps Atlanta is this isn't the city's first rodeo. This isn't this group's first rodeo in terms of Super Bowls, college football national championship games, major events, major concerts in this venue, major things that you've had to deal with, infrastructure, with security, with ticketing, with transportation, with public transit, with all of those different partnerships that already exist, whether we're talking stadium, city, state, county, transit, airport, hotel, hospitality industry. This isn't the first time that these entities have worked together to do these kind of events. So I think that helps Atlanta in a big way.
No doubt about it. And like I said, we're learning about it, all the other host cities and what they get to have conversations with all the other host cities too. I cannot thank you enough for hopping on and giving the lowdown about what happened with that availability this morning. Obviously, we'll continue to have those things popping up every once in a while. We're going to be, like I said, reaching out to all the other host cities and comparing notes. Thank you, especially on a Friday. I know that like 100 miles an hour right now, and that's being conservative with everything. Thank you for dropping by and giving us the update.
Yeah, I'll tease some stuff for you coming up too before you get rid of me. Atlanta Soccer tonight, this evening, special edition. We will have Madison Cruz and I are going to speak to Brad Kazan here in a little bit. We'll have that conversation for you on AST tonight. Catch up with Brad about what he's been up to, how he's feeling as training camp gets started, and he's not there for the first time. That's a tough transition. We're going to talk to Brad about that. We'll talk about a variety of different things. AST tonight, 10 o'clock, 92.9 The Game, and the Odyssey app. And then we'll be back in our usual Tuesday slot next week. Check out the features at soccerdownhere.net. Subscribe to Morning Espresso as a newsletter. If you're not getting that as a newsletter, you can go to soccerdownhere.net/connect. And if you are getting it as a newsletter and you like it, share it with folks. We're trying to grow that base and grow the community of everything we're doing here at SDH with a very busy year ahead.
You aren't kidding, brother. Good luck with AST tonight, and say hi and find out what it's like for him to be a mogul in training where he's dealing with the Atlanta Drive. Yeah. Saw that as well. Thanks again, especially on short notice. Be safe. We'll see you soon.
Adios.
There goes Jason. And we can't thank Jason enough for hopping in, especially after a big media availability this morning and dropping that knowledge there on. Okay, let's go back to where we were with the bookmark, and we'll get you ready for the remainder of the weekend and give you all the highlights, what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it from our friends at Fanatis, all the things. So Maddie and Jason catching up with Brad, that'll be cool. And that will be coming up in just a little bit because, and I thought it was important to have Jason come in if he was available because we're under 150 days. We're under 150 days before the world comes to this hemisphere and gets to experience the World Cup. So having these updates and these regular updates is big. And so to get Jason to hop in to kind of break everything down since he was there and we were here. It's always good to have that information and that information shared. Okay, going back to where we were with the gossip, rumor, and innuendo. Let me see where we were here. Okay, so West Ham looking set to miss out on Charlie Cresswell after Wolfsburg submits a bid of just over £15.5 million. That comes from the Athletic. Forest looking to push to sign Inter Milan midfielder David Fratesi. That's from Tutto Mercato. Kobe Manu looking to secure the loan exit. Napoli leading the race. That's from the other four-letter paper, so take the information at your own peril. Crystal Palace and Brighton competing with Celtic and Norwich for Dundalk 17-year-old Irish defender Vinny Leonard. Villa could move for Dani Ceballos from Real Madrid after missing out on Conor Gallagher. Spurs exploring options to sell Argentine striker Alejo Veliz, who is on loan at Rosario Central. Talks with Bahia currently at present. Galatasaray, Napoli, Juve. Clubs in Saudi Arabia monitoring Bernardo Silva, who's in the last year of his deal at Manchester City, yet to agree to an extension. Wolves hoping to beat Premier League folks and for two Scottish teenagers. Dundee United striker Kai Hutchinson, who is 15, and 17-year-old Aberdeen midfielder Cooper Mason. And Sheffield United have registered their interest in midfielder Ross Barkley, who is struggling for game time at Villa. Chelsea, Liverpool, and United are chasing after a 17-year-old left back at Sheffield Wednesday. They're also Wednesday themselves closing in on the loan signings of Jaden Heskey from Manchester City and QPR keeper Murphy Cooper. Pompey have agreed on half a £500,000 for Derby County midfielder Ibu Adams. Norwich City, once again, we mentioned Vinny Leonard, and Oxford United have had a half a £500,000 bid for 22-year-old Reading midfielder Charlie Savage turned down. So that is where we are with gossip, rumor, and innuendo. No word on the Josh Sargent sweepstakes and whether or not he's going to allegedly text his manager to say he doesn't want to play on the weekend. So when we have more intel on that, obviously we'll keep an eye on that as we go forward. All right. What to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it. And we get that from our friends at Fanatis, fntz.co/soccer down here. And you can hit that link, and that link is important. It helps them, helps us, helps you by adding more matches to everything you're already watching with Fanatis. You get BN Sports, home of AFCON. The championship is this weekend. So we got to keep an eye out for that. Third place game is tomorrow. Championship is on Sunday. We are efforting a response from the CAF about having the executive committee, a member of the executive committee, come in and let us know how the tournament went from their perspective once the tournament is over. So we've reached out to CAF, and we'll see if they can come on with us. Fanatis, you get BN, all the BNs. You get Teise, matches from Argentina, more leagues across South America, all in one place, one subscription, one home, and that is fntz.co/soccer down here. So what to watch, where to watch it, and how to watch it. Obviously, today, there's a lot of stuff that's there. And with the weekend being what it is, it's going to be crowded. Let's just go ahead and put it that way. It's going to be a crowded weekend when it comes to everything on the air. And obviously, with all of our streaming services and everything, BN is back with Ligue 1. They've been in 3, and BN in Espanol is simulcasting. ESPN Deportes has La Liga. They've got Espanol and Girona at 3 o'clock. Fox Deportes talk about it, but if you want to watch it, it's at 12:30. The Plus has the A-League, the German Bundesliga, 2 matches in Bundesliga B, 1 match in Bundesliga 3 at 1 o'clock. Scottish Cup, Rangers Athletic, and note that it's not named after Tony Annan. That's at 2:40. And then La Liga, Espanol, and Girona is FoxSports.com has the Saudi Pro Serie B at 2:30, and the Pro League. Paramount Plus has Serie A at 2:45 with Pisa and Atalanta, and West Brom and Middlesbrough at 3 o'clock, and then Liga MX Femenil tonight on Fox Sports. It is Juarez and Atletico San Luis. That is at 8 o'clock. Saturday, just to give you an idea as to what is on where, set obviously with your favorite network. So here you go. Third place game, they've got a doubleheader after that with Toulouse, Nice, Angers, and Marseille. And then they've got a Friendly Legends and the Mexico Legends at 7:45. Golazo Network busy. Watford and Millwall 7:30. Preston North End, Derby County is at 10. Doubleheader after that, Assuelo, Cagliari, and Juve. And then MX with Cruz Azul and Puebla. That is 10 o'clock. CBS Sports doubleheader in the English Championship, 7:30 and 10. Fox Soccer Plus, Serie B in the league we don't talk about. FS2, Liga MX at 8 o'clock. NBC, Nottingham Forest and Arsenal at 12:30. USA has a doubleheader at 7:30 and 10. They have Liverpool and Burnley as their chosen game on US, simulcasting everything we talked about from BN. ESPN Deportes, your standard La Liga quadruple header. That's all day on ESPN Deportes. Fox Deportes, Serie A at noon. 10 o'clock has 2 matches in Liga MX. 2 to N. A 10 o'clock match, Cruz Azul and Puebla. Also has a triple header going on in the Premier League, and then they header in Liga MX at 6 and 8. Univision has the late game simulcast of Cruz Azul and Puebla with 2 to N at 10 o'clock. ESPN Plus give you an idea as to what leagues they're covering on Saturday. It is A League. It is the Eredivisie. It is the Bundesliga, 5 matches at 9:20 and 1 at 12:20. Bundesliga B, 3 at 7 in the morning and then 1 at 2:30. Bundesliga 3, they have 8 and 1 at 10:30. La Liga quadruple header available there. Scottish Cup, Hearts and Falkirk at 3. La Liga 2, Almeria and Deportivo La Coruña is also at 3 o'clock. Fox ONE, Serie A, Serie B, about Liga MX and the friendly. Foxsports.com, Serie A, Liga MX, international friendly. Plus, they have 7 matches from the championship, 1 from League 1, 1 from 2, 3 from Serie A and Liga MX. Peacock has 5 matches from the Premier League. Spanish Feminine Liga at 6 o'clock in the morning on DAZN, if you subscribe to that. ESPN Plus has your A-League, Fox Soccer Plus, and Fox ONE. That gets you to Sunday, where you can watch stuff on BN, CBS, Fox Soccer Plus, USA, BN en Espanol, ESPN Deportes, whether it's La Liga, Fox Deportes, Serie A, Telemundo, the Premier League, 2 to N Liga MX, Univision Liga MX as well, and on the Plus. Busy Bundesliga, Bundesliga B, Bundesliga 3, La Liga 2, Big Fox ONE, Serie A and the league we don't talk about, foxsports.com, Serie A, Paramount Plus, quadruple header, Women, DAZN, you have Spanish Feminine Liga, and the Premier League from France, Fox Soccer Plus, Serie A, Fox ONE has Serie A. So that's weekend. So that is the big weekend there, and it is big weekend. So make sure that you all of your squared away. And apparently, after what happened yesterday, Verizon me a $20 credit. So yeah, or what happened earlier this week, it's a $20 credit. So let's see. So let's see. David, I mean, for us, I mean, David's asking, if it's struggling to call it Atlanta Stadium. Apparently, they're going to have to put vinyl over the top of the logo and stuff for the outside shots. So we'll see what happens. I don't think it just gets a little. It gets a little repetitive. The more that you say it, the more it gets easier to say. Yeah. And David, if it's a Kentucky bluegrass or not. And David says, yeah, the Meadowlands Fan Fest, not a lot close by. And yeah, so for here, for those of you in the eastern side of town in Atlanta, I say here, like I'm in studio in Office HD, but I'm not. I will be back on Monday though. You've got the Fest. You're going to hop on the MARTA line, head in town. So if you're done with stuff downtown and you can come out to Decatur, you go on the MARTA line and you're out there in like 15 minutes, and then you're good to go. I mean, literally, you can have an entire day of going from the other. Well, Pars Waymo might be making a killing, but they got to get from point A to point B first off. So we'll see what happens there. I mean, Uber definitely would be. But yes, morning Catalucci and morning Ropes. Pars is saying, aren't they projecting 200,000 people in alone? Yes. I mean, and that's literally, it is for those 6 dates. I mean, it is going to be a blast. And we are going to be doing a lot of stories in and around the nations that are going to be coming in, and the pockets of those who have immigrated here to the States, and we'll get to experience with you what it's like for those fan bases to see their national teams come to Atlanta. We're going to be doing a lot of stories on that, probably some stories on the food and the experience and what it means and all those kinds of things. So keep an eye out for those features during the tournament. and as we get into the tournament, and then once we're finished with it as well. So we're going to have a lot of content and a lot of programming that is going to be attached to the national teams that are going to be coming here. So it's going to be fun stuff that we're going to do as we go. And ATLUTD, obviously, West Ham continuing with their BS. Yes, it is not fun. And if the Olympic Stadium, the landlords for the Olympic Stadium, they're going to get a cut in the rent if West Ham gets relegated, because obviously you're not a Premier League team anymore, and so there was something in the lease that said, well, if you are an element that's attached to West Ham, you've got a Premier League rate and you got a championship rate. So we'll see what happens with that as we go. But yeah, the landlords of the Olympic Stadium or London Stadium would be getting a championship rent rate if West Ham gets relegated. They would not be making as much money. So we'll see. $20 discount credit redeemed with link below. Okay, good for me. All right. So teams are looking at their confirmations of times and everything, and you're going to be seeing teams that are going to be changing kickoff times and things like that for TV or one reason or another. So you're going to be seeing those bolos coming out too. Note from U.S. Soccer, Rose Lavelle was voted 2025 U.S. Soccer Female Player, and defender Lily Real voted Young Female Player of the Year. And that came out this morning as of 3 minutes. So Rose Lavelle voted Female Player of the Year. Lily Real voted Young U.S. Soccer Young Female Player of the Year. Lavelle heading into her 10th year as part of the WNT. First time she's won the award. Both Lavelle and Real played key roles for. And Lavelle got a late start to her campaign in 25 after getting back on the field. Surgery, returned to international play June 26. Scored a goal, set up another 6 international matches, starting 5. And in each match she started, she had a score sheet. So once again, quote from, and then at the club level, 16 times, started 13, peak form in time for the playoffs, 4-2-3 with their finish and getting the final playoff spot. Lily Real had an exciting rookie year in WSL, left back for senior team call-up in June. So those are the notes there. As a part of the U.S. Young Female Player of the Year award, Henkel is going to donate $10,000 to a community organization of the winner's choosing. Real, who hails from Hingham, Mass., chose the Boys and Girls Clubs of Boston. So Real Player to be named U.S. Soccer Female Player of the Year. An award a player can only win once. And so it was awarded back in 1998. Cindy, the first one to get the award there. So Rose Lavelle, Lily Real, those were today in from a U.S. Soccer Players of the Year, Player of the Year. So that's what you were staring at this morning. Trying to see if there's any other stories that we might have leave you for yet another week. Obviously, the biggest news happened when we were coming on the air. Oliver Glasner leaving Crystal Palace at the end of the season. Talks apparently had started as far back as October. And so it's easy to sit there and draw a line from one to the other. Hey, no evidence or proof of that at all. Once again, if these conversations started back in October, Glasner had it in his mind that he was leaving. And so it was announced this morning at his press conference this afternoon, local time. So that was the big air from Crystal Palace. Also that Mark Gahey is on his way from Crystal Palace to Manchester City. They've all agreed to terms. And so Gahey will be dropping in for Manchester in short order. So let's see, Sir Jim Ratcliffe and the club training. Allen, who's leaving Aston Villa to join Roma on loan. With his injury, he'll be out 6 to 8 weeks. They're looking for replacements now in the window. And I'm trying to see if there is anything else. From The Guardian, here's from Ed Aarons and Romain Molina. The CAF has been accused of pushing through its controversial decision to stage AFCON every 4 years without properly consulting member federations. Several presidents of the federations have told The Guardian they were not informed of the decision until it was surprisingly announced by President Dr. Patrice Motsepe back on the 20th of December. We went through that before Christmas with you. Prompting claims the Confederation breached their statutes by failing to seek approval at a General Assembly based on contention that major changes to formats must be ratified by the 54 members, although that has been disputed by senior sources at the CAF. Discussions limited initially to the executive committee, then to the 24 exec before the switch. So it went to a group in the Exco, the 24 members, and then it was switched from hosting the tournament every 2 years was confirmed on the eve of the edition in Morocco that ends on Sunday. So according to one source, decision was already made. They said it would be discussed in Morocco, but in the end, there was no discussion. Quote, we're killing our, and this is an anonymous Federation president. General Assembly and all the presidents were allowed to vote. It would never have passed. Guardian understands the move to a 4-year cycle first raised during a meeting involving some of CAF's executive committee about a month before the announcement, although a spokesperson for CAF has denied such a meeting took place. And so this will be required of the day. So you have CAF heads of football in federations not happy with decisions made by Dr. Motsepe, and he announced it on the 20th at the beginning. Keep an eye on that. I would not necessarily anticipate any kind of move, and we'll see what happens. This was the other story from the Guardian that was interesting to me as we went. Hughes. Sports piracy, and this is the headline, sports piracy, billion illegal streams and the rise of black market bookmakers. So that might also be required reading. And that comes from the number of illegal streams has doubled to 3.6 billion in the last 3 years, according to a new report from the Campaign for Fairer Gambling. Their 24-25 report highlighted the relationship between sports piracy and unlicensed gambling in 89% of illegal streams in the country featuring adverts for black market makers. So that's your required. What is with the Guardian today? Let me see if we there's stories that are out there, or if we get to find out what's going on. I'm trying to see if there's anything else. Okay, the Glasner move, and the Telegraph is also mentioning the double manager count out. They're calling it El Sacico this weekend with Nottingham Forest and with West Ham. So if one thing happens, another thing happens. So we'll keep an eye out for. They're calling it El Sacico. So keep an eye on that this weekend as a part of the coverage. West Ham's willing to sell Lucas Paquetá. Flamengo is not necessarily a fan of that at the moment. We'll see if that opinion changes. And let's see. I think we'll do it. So it is a weekend across the board. Thanks to Jason for hopping in after the media avail that was had by Mercedes-Benz Stadium and the World Cup organizing committee, and Dan Corso, the Atlanta Sports Council, and a bunch of folks getting the world prepared from an Atlanta perspective going forward. So it was important to get you this morning. Glad Jason could drop in. Thanks to Rob Smethurst, the owner at Macclesfield FC, to let everybody know what it has been like for them to build this Phoenix club to the point to where it is, and getting the big win that they got this past weekend with the FA Cup. And now they're back in league play and trying to find a way to continue their run at promotion, although they look at this season as a found money, and they're just going to kind of see what they do in the national north-south in the 6th tier. Will they be able to continue to work their way forward? Only a couple of points for the promotion playoffs, so we'll see. Thanks to Rob Smith. Thanks to Greg Garza before he hopped on a plane to discuss everything from the MLS Rookie Symposium to listening and what it's like to listen. And then we also got into making sure that folks understood that listening to someone and listening through someone, the difference is there. And then getting you ready for anything and everything here in the morning. When it came to AFCON, FA Cup, all the things, Premier League, getting your previews all squared away. And we cannot thank all of you enough for being a part of it here on SDH. Obviously, we've got the Chris Henderson stuff in the queue. Don't know if we'll be able to get to that in some form or fashion. We'll keep it, and we'll keep an eye on it, and we'll see what's going on here for yet another week here in season 10 of SDH and SDH AM. So for everybody at SDH, thanks for being with us as we're starting season 10. Thanks to our guests this morning. Thanks to the guests all week long. Man, we had a big week this week. So let me just chat before we get out of here who we had. Abe, Bart. We had, let's see. So we had Abe and Bart on Monday. We had Steve Cook from Lexington SC on Tuesday. We had South Island United hanging out with us on Tuesday as well. Remember, the OFC Pro League starts tonight. You can watch it on FIFA Plus. First time ever that the league is starting. First ever matches that count tonight. FIFA Plus, you can watch it there all season long. It was Ben Davis, the women's head coach, and Cody Case, the men's head coach, the boys' head coach at Valdosta High School. Got to catch up with them. Got to catch up with Nate Miller at AC Boise and find out what it's like for him. He is in Panama right now, and hopefully he didn't have Verizon yesterday. Nino and Nico, thanks for them for hanging out with us. And then once again today, it was Greza, Rob Smethurst, and Jason. So it's a very, very busy week across the board. Don't forget, grady-baby.com for all of your gear. The Soccer is Just Better in Atlanta wardrobe that they have. If you go to grady-baby.com, the red or the black, and you help invest into their cause, which is helping middle soccer programs directly attached to the Atlanta public school system. So you get the Soccer is Just Better in Atlanta gear that we got with our collaboration with them at grady-baby.com about APS middle school soccer program. Trying to get a national squad. And so with them, you can get the great gear and you can get that. You can get the scarf. Once again, you can get it through them. You can get it through me. You can get it through Choice D, all the above. But once again, go to their website, catch up with us. I think I have 2 left in the office, and you can, before I have another 50, and then you can continue to help out Marshall Islands. That way, get the jerseys, get all the gear, and go to the Marshall Islands Soccer Federation store, and you get to see our Maddie Cruz modeling the scarf in its previous nation. Next incarnation coming up pretty soon. So that is another week of SDH AM. Cannot thank you all enough for being a part of it as we continue to grow here in a very, very busy and very, very important year here for soccer in Soccer City, USA. Buddy here at SDH, I'm just John. Thanks for dropping by. It's the end of a week, so that means we get to do one thing on our way out the door. Mucha plati, y'all. Play it safe. We'll catch up with you soon.
The war was on. The keys on the typewriter had sharp points that kept sticking into our fingers. The dictating equipment started asking us questions, and our beepers sent electric shocks just through our body like a cattle prod. Out in the warehouse, the trucks kept banging into the docks, not even thinking about stopping. Oh, our frail bodies were strapped to the chairs, and our chairs were chained to the desks. Our pleas for justice were ignored, and the end seemed near. But we busted our slave drivers' little bitty balls. We've charged out of their brick fortress. The streets are